Hello, guys, and we're going to be discussing 216 songs in poetry this time. To get here, you would log into the OLS. On the left-hand side, click Classes. From your classes, choose the purple ELA class. At the top, click Content. Scroll to the side here. Be sure Unit 2 is open and go down to 2.6. And then click there, and you may have to scroll up to the top to see this. But we have Lessons Introduction, Songs and Poetry. Think about some of the nursery rhymes you may have heard as a child. How about Mary Had a Little Lamb or Baa Black Sheep? Both of those short poems can be read as poems or as songs. In this lesson, we will examine some other poetry that uses song techniques to add structure and meaning. Slide 2. Here's our student guide. Here's our lesson objectives. To prepare, we have materials, we have an assignment. This is not going to be a graded assignment. If you'd like to turn it in for extra credit, I'm open to that. It's actually opening up on my second screen, so I'm going to slide it over here so you can see it. It says, review the assignment requirements carefully, your poem. Your poem must contain at least 2 poetic devices among alliteration, onomatopoeia, line length, punctuation, and figurative language. Your poem may use any structure except haiku. Your poem must include at least 1 module vocabulary word. After you've completed your poem, choose 1 poetic device and explain why you used it and its effect on your poem. Refer to the assessment rubric for information on how you'll be graded. So enable editing so that you can type right here on this. If you want to type right in there for you and write your poem, that's fine with me. Let's pull up this rubric and see how it will be graded. Again, this will be for extra credit. It's not a grade in the grade book, but if you turn it in, I will grade it and we'll add some points to one of your low scores. All right. So your poem, to make the best grade possible, it includes at least 2 literary devices that create meaning and deepen readers' understanding of theme or topic. The student can choose from figurative language, alliteration, onomatopoeia, line length, or punctuation. The content, the poem has a clear structure and purpose. All parts of the poem contribute to theme or meaning and represent quality writing. The student chooses 1 poetic device and expertly explains why he or she uses this device and how it affected the poem. So you're going to write the poem and then you're going to write a critique of your poem. Expertly use 1 module vocabulary word, and you follow rules of spelling, capitalization, grammar, and punctuation as they relate to poetry. 5 or fewer errors are present. Okay, that is the rubric. I'm going to move it over to the side as well. All right, and now we're going to click back on this tab and go to Module 1. Songs and poetry, poems that sing. In this lesson, you'll be reading 2 poems that use song form techniques. The first is A Corn Song by Paul Laurence Dunbar, and the second is The Wind by Robert Louis Stevenson. These poems are about 2 very different subjects. One is commentary on racial discrimination, and the other presents observations on the power of the wind. Nevertheless, they have some similarities in structure and sound. As you read, think about the following questions. How does the use of dialect contribute to the meaning of the poem? What is a refrain? How does including a refrain contribute to the meaning of a poem? Slide 2. A Corn Song. Let's read and listen to a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar. The poem A Corn Song paints a picture of a landowner sitting on his veranda while his field hands work. Pay attention to the way Dunbar uses dialect to enhance the meaning of the poem and how the refrain is an important part of the structure. A refrain is a phrase that's repeated at intervals throughout the poem, kind of like what we'd say the chorus of a song. And I'm just going to open it up here. let's see, we ended on 116, I want to say. Yeah. Maybe it was 416. There we go, a corn song. It's going to be on page 417 in your textbook. From the Complete Poems of Paul Dunbar. On the wind veranda white, in the purple failing light, sits the master while the sun is lowly burning, and his dreamy thoughts are drowned in the softly flowing sound of the corn songs of the field hands slow returning. Oh, we hoed the corn since the daily moon. Now the sinking sun says the day is done. O'er the fields with heavy tread, light of heart and high of head, through the halting steps be labored slow and weary. Still the spirits brave and strong find a comforter in song, and their corn songs rise ever loud and cheery. Oh, we hold the corn since the daily moon. Now the sinking sun says the day is done. To the master in his seat comes the burden full and sweet of the fellow miners' music growing clearer, as the toilers raise the hymn through the silence dusk and dim, to the cabin's restful shelter drawing near. Oh, we hoed the cone since the daily moon, now we sinking sun says the day is done. And a tear is in the eye of the master sitting by, as he listens to the echoes low replying to the music's fading calls as it faints away and falls into silence deep within the cabin dying. Oh, we hoed the corn since the day moon, now the sinking sun says the day is done. And it's early morn. All right, I'm gonna go back. And you can play and listen to this again. And I'm not going to play it for you. When you're done, you just click next to back. Okay. And then go to slide 3. A closer look at a corn song. Let's examine how Dunbar uses dialect and structure to contribute to the meaning of his poem. On the wide veranda white. Notice how language is used in the stanzas that describe the landowner. The language is academic with no use of dialect. Oh, we hoed the cone. This is called a refrain. It repeats in its entirety throughout the poem. What effect does that have on the poem? Now the sinking sun. Every time the song of the field hands appears, Dunbar writes it in dialect. Why do you think he does it? What effect does it have on the poem? All right, slide 4. Let's think back at the questions we asked at the beginning of this lesson. How does the use of dialect contribute to the meaning of the poem? What is a refrain? How does including a refrain contribute to the meaning of the poem? Think about each of the question and how it relates to a corn song. Number 1, how does the use of dialect contribute to the meaning of a corn song? The dialect in this poem helps emphasize the point of view of the slaves returning home after a day's hard labor. By using accurate dialect, the poet helps bring the subject to life and connects the reader to the emotional meaning of the poem. Again, there's not going to be a quiz over this one, so I'm not going to create a review document, but if you would like, you can always click on the windows, click on Word, and create a review document like we've done in the past. And I would put these 3 in if you're going to do that. What is a refrain? As you should recall, a refrain is a short stanza that repeats throughout the poem. In a corn song, the refrain is, oh, we hoed the corn since the early morn. Now the sinking sun says the day is done. How does including a refrain contribute to the meaning of the poem? A refrain brings importance to a poem or song. The reader or listener remembers what he or she hears most often. As the refrain repeats, it sticks in the reader's head and becomes the most important part of the poem. In a corn song, the refrain tells the story of the slaves in the field through their own song. The poet emphasizes the emotion of his subjects. Slide 5. Let's find out what you've learned about a corn song by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Refrain from a corn song. Oh, we hoed the corn since the early morn. Now the sinking sun says the day is done. How does the use of dialect contribute to the meaning of a poem? A, the dialect helps illustrate the differences between the field hands and the master. B, the dialect is used to confuse the reader and keep the deeper meaning hidden. C, there is really no reason for the use of the dialect and it does not affect the meaning. Click on your answer. Check your answer. Once you know the correct answer, if you're wanting to do a review document, you may copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. Pause the video and come back when you're ready. And I'm just going to, since this isn't going to be test ever, I'm going to go ahead and say that dialect helps illustrate the difference between, and that is correct. It uses dialect to widen the gap between the landowner on the porch and the workers in the field, because as it discussed, when it's the wealthy landowner speaking, there's no dialect. It's all academic language. And then when it is the slave speaking, it has the dialect. What is a refrain? Is it A, a type of rhyme scheme, B, a way of writing dialogue between two characters, or C, a section of the poem that repeats throughout the poem? Click your answer, check your answer. Once you know the correct answer, you can copy and paste that into your review document if you're doing one. This purpose here, let's see. A section of the poem that repeats. Just like the chorus of a song, a refrain is a section of a poem that repeats in its entirety throughout. Question 3. How does including a refrain contribute to the meaning of a corn song? A, the repetition emphasizes the gap between the landowner and the workers. B, it does not contribute to the meaning of the poem. C, it causes the reader to read the poem faster because some of the text repeats. Click on your answer. Check your answer. When you know the correct answer, you may copy and paste it into your review document if you're keeping one. And the the repetition emphasizes the gap between the landowner and the workers. By repeating the song throughout, Dunbar emphasizes the difference between the subjects of his poem. Slide 6. Check your understanding. Review the following questions to determine how well you understand the poem. I can recognize the refrain in a poem and understand how it contributes to the meaning of a poem. You are ready to move on to the next section. Remember to review any information you feel unsure of. I can recognize a refrain in a poem, but I'm not sure why a poet would use one. When you come to the refrain, think about why the poet would want to include repeating text. Examine the differences between refrain and other stanzas in a corn song. I do not know what a refrain is or how to recognize one. If that's your answer, you should go back and review the lesson again to make sure that you understand the refrain. So if you need to stop and pause the video and go back, please do so. If you just need to revisit the portion about why it's important, then you'll just back up a little bit and review that portion. If you've totally got it, you can find a refrain, you understand what it is and how it affects a poem, then you are ready to move on. And we will go to Module 2. The Wind by Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson was an early 20th century author renowned for his work for both children and adults. Two of Stevenson's most popular works for children are Treasure Island and A Child's Garden of Verses. The poem The Wind comes from a children's garden of verses, a collection of poetry for children first published in 1885 under the name Penny Whistles. As you read the poem, think about the following questions. Which section of the poem repeats the refrain? What effect does the refrain have on the meaning of the poem? How does Stevenson use figurative language to help create vivid images for the reader? And now we're going to go to that selection. And we were at 416 last time, so we're probably going to be 417 this time. There's the corn song, The Wind. And it's just one page. The Wind from a Child's Garden of Verses by Robert Louis Stevenson. I saw you toss the kites on high and blow the birds about the sky, and all around I heard you pass like ladies' skirts across the grass. A wind a blowing all day long, a wind that sings so loud a song. I saw the different things you did, but always you yourself you hid. I felt you push, I heard you call, I could not see yourself at all. A wind a blowing all day long, a wind that sings so loud a song. Oh, you that are so strong and cold, oh blower, are you young or old? Are you a beast of field and tree, or just a stronger child than me? A wind a blowing all day long, a wind that sings so loud a song. Two. The wind. I saw you toss the kites on high and blow the birds about the sky, and all around I heard you pass. So it has this again right here, and you can listen to this guy say it. You might want to, and it's going to have you listen to it to 2 times. It's always good to listen to a poem twice. After you finish, so pause the video, listen to him, read it to you, and when you're done, come back. All right, now that you've listened to it twice, and hopefully you followed along as well, we're going to go to slide 3. A closer look at the wind. Let's check out some of the techniques Robert Louis Stevenson uses in the poem, The Wind. Oh, you that are so strong and cold, oh, blower, are you young or old? This is an example of figurative language. In the poem, the speaker thinks of the wind as if it were a human being, although it's a non-human thing. What type of figurative language is Stevenson using? If you said personification, you are correct. A wind a blowing all day long, a wind a blowing all day long. These 2 lines are repeated throughout the poem, making it a refrain. What is the effect using a refrain in this poem? Well, it's repetitive, so you're probably going to remember it. Refrains and dialect are both important techniques that poets use to craft the meanings of their poems. As you read a poem, remember to search for these kinds of features to help you decipher the author's meaning and purpose. Slide 4. Analysis the wind. Let's think back at the questions we asked at the beginning of this lesson. Which section of the poem represents the refrain? What effect does the refrain have on the meaning of the poem? How does Stevenson use figurative language to help create vivid images for the reader? Think about each of the questions and how it relates to the wind. Which section of the poem repeats the refrain in the wind? The refrain in this short section that repeats all through the poem, in this case of the refrain, is a wind a blowing all day long, a wind that sings so loud a song. Did you get it? If you didn't, you might want to copy and paste this into that review document. Number 2, what effect does the refrain have on the meaning of the poem? A refrain brings emphasis to certain ideas in a poem. In this case, the refrain lets the reader know what the subject of the poem really is. The stanzas or verses of the poem personify the wind and what might be confusing to the reader. Instead, the refrain confirms for the reader that the speaker is really describing. Again, if you didn't get that right, you're thinking, was it the same? Be sure to copy and paste that into that review document. Number 3, how does Stevenson use figurative language to create vivid images for the reader? Stevenson uses both imagery and personification in this poem. Lines such as, "Oh, wind a blowing all day long," and "I felt you push and I heard you call," paint a picture for the reader. You can imagine the wind blowing a picture, how strong the wind was pushing against the speaker. Further, the poet uses personification to give human characteristics to the wind. When you think of the wind playfully and purposefully tossing kites and blowing birds around, it brings a feeling of excitement and energy to the poem. Again, if you did not get that one, copy and paste into your review document. Once you're done, you're ready to move to slide 5. Check your understanding. Let's check how well you understand the important features of the wind. Which term best describes this passage from the wind? "A wind a blowing all day long, a wind that sings so loud a song." Is that alliteration, a refrain, or hyperbole? Click on your answer. Check your answer. Once you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. And in this case, the answer is refrain. Lines which repeat throughout the poem are called the refrain. Number 2, what effect does the use of a refrain have on the meaning of the wind? A, the use of the refrain causes the reader to slow down while reading the poem. B, the refrain helps create the effect of a child singing a song while playing. C, the refrain causes the reader to read the poem faster to avoid the repeated materials. Click on your answer, check your answer, copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. I think the refrain helps give effect that it's singing like a song. Yes. The refrain helps enhance the meaning of the poem as a child's song. Question 3, which type of figurative language is Stevenson using when he describes the wind? "I saw the different things you did, but always you yourself you hid. I felt you push, I heard you call. I could not see yourself at all." Is this A, imagery, B, personification, or C, hyperbole? Click your answer, check your answer. When you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. Pause the video if you need to and come back. All right, we have, I think it is imagery. No, I got it wrong. Try again. Let's see. "I saw the different things you did, but always you yourself you hid. I felt you push, I heard you call. I could not see yourself at all." Personification. Yes. The speaker thinks the wind as acting with human motivations, so that it's hiding itself. That's a human characteristic. All right. And now we're ready to move on to Module 3. Vocabulary checkpoint. Before the next assignment, let's review the module vocabulary you have encountered so far. Check that you've learned the definitions of these words: exclude, negotiate, evacuate, vacate, pandemonium, omnipresent, seclude, omniscient, renegade, holocaust, recluse, logical, evaluate, concede, elaborate, stanza, speaker, refrain, hyperbole, and narrative. Now, how well were you able to use Greek and Latin roots to discover the meaning of the words? Try this example. Technology is omnipresent force in our lives. What is the Latin root definition of omnipresent? Do you remember? In this passage, you would use the root omnis and your knowledge of the meaning of present to help you determine that omnipresent means everywhere. Remember, omni means all present, so it's everywhere. On the following pages, you'll be working on a written assignment. In this assignment, you must incorporate at least one of these words. Module 4. And we're not actually doing this assignment, so you're good to go. Just be sure that you do know the definitions of those words. If you don't, look them up. Be sure that you know them before moving on to chapter 3. And we are finished with chapter 2. That is all for chapter 2. I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.